Okay, let me follow you again here, Bryce. So so I haven't granted you access. I go over to the record tab, can't record. I try to hit it. There's something that lets me know that, and I can go change it. Okay, great. I go to the save screen. What do I see in this world you're suggesting here?
We should probably have a button that says allow access to all videos. Have your rodeo video show up here.
Okay.
I think, like, I wish that we could say, I just want access to this one album that we created as an app, right? Like, why isn't there, if I created an album, or like even a special directory that I save to that appears as an album in my camera roll, you know?
I know, like we created the photo and we added the photo and now we don't have access. If you change the setting, it's kind of weird.
What if it's just that if you haven't granted us access, the save screen doesn't exist?
Yeah, I guess the question is there enough incentive there to? I think the most common use case is that people are gonna do selected photos. They're gonna do none or selected photos.
But I thought we were saying you can't record unless you give us all access.
Yeah, should we do you can't record unless you give us all, or should we do you can't record unless you give us right?
Okay, so my apologies because I'm confused because I just not understand it enough. But I was under the impression that that write also gave you read.
Right.
Right.
It's the opposite. Right. But read gives it all read gives you right. Selected read does not give you right.
But
and right only gets you right.
But if we're at the hit record button, we wouldn't be prompting them with select, right?
We would prompt them with add. So then there's allow access to all. Like saved only works with the most permissive save screen.
Also, to add to the confusion.
Great.
If we request read write first, which is what we do now, you cannot later request add only. You have to request add only first. And then you can request read write.
The options are request read write, or write.
And in the current order, there's no way to only request add later on, after onboarding.
Oh no, that's not. Okay.
SAT, man. Oh God.
Okay, so just so that I understand, there is a state where you can grant us access to record such that you're able to record. However, you go to the save screen and you cannot see anything because what we show on you on the save screen is from your camera roll, and you didn't give us the ability to write to that. What if we did something where if we don't have access, we show you what's in the Files app when it's on the save screen, and basically you can't really do anything. It's like the button underneath the video is like grant access to save to your camera roll or something, or to export it from Rodeo or something. Would that solve it?
It does solve it, but we're just going back to files backed. It's a separate support pass. It's not that big of a deal, but it's like, do we want to? If this thing was not a great experience in the first place, should be, if the files experience was not what we wanted.
I agree 100%. The only reason I'm suggesting files is just so that we can show them something that articulates the reason why they need to give us access. You wouldn't really be able to do anything with them. You can't like even watch them, let's say.
Yeah. then we have like another kind of like state of those players that are like, I'm not saying that, I'm saying like it solves it, but it isn't worth like everyone in a bug batch now like reinstalls the app. We have to double check every time, like,
Right.
Do these things behave? How does that like experience behave how we want?
Okay.
Trying to like I think the question is like how much of good citizens do we want to be? Because if we are this white glove app thing, like, do we just say we mandate all access? Like that is kind of like.
I'm sorry, but I thought that I heard just now that we can't ask for all access when you're hitting the record button.
I'm saying we mandate it across the, right now we allow you to do selected, we allow you to do all, we allow you to do none, and if you are able to pass that screen.
Yes.
If you want the full experience that has minimal support or minimal like code pass, problems, it's that you can't pass the permissions screen without giving us full access to the.
Okay. And then every time you come back from backgrounding the app, we check, do we have permission to everything? If you don't, there's a full screen takeover. Sorry, you have to give us everything.
Yep, and we have, there's a nice graphic in there that already that does that says like these things. But then it's weird because it's like if you're only using this as a live product, you're not using the actions you need to have.
Background, avatar, thumbnail? Is that enough of an argument?
We use the image pickers for those. I don't think we even need permissions for those. So I guess like is the trade-off of like, hey, maybe we'll get some additional person that we're trying to get because they enjoyed these like less permissive permissions.
Can we see how many people that have used the product today have granted us full access? I guess my concern would be like if a top tier celebrity gets this app and the only way they can get it is if we get everything, like it could be a turn off for them.
Right. We don't want to risk being part of something that also just like steals Jennifer Lopez's whole camera roll or something.
Yeah.
Are we able to ask or allow all without asking for select? Can you not have that?
No. Select is definitely the biggest thing. Like it almost feels like, or it's like if we had two like buttons on the permission screen, it's camera and mic, add to your camera roll, read for your camera roll, gives us what we want.
I mean, we don't have to say, like, we can give like a slight description, which is basically like the primer says, in order to save to your camera roll, we need access to all photos. And then we prompt the read all photos button. Does that solve it?
Yeah, I think so. So you're saying we say why and then just prompt read?
Yes. Yeah, we say why, and what we're saying is it's so that we can like add like some explanation that is more about like record than something else, you know?
Yeah.
Or like reactions or something. But then we just prompt read from the very beginning. We never once prompt for write. And then hopefully, if I'm understanding correctly, we never will. We'll have the full thing.
Right. If we got full read, we would get everything.
Yes.
Would we force the app to be full read?
Well, that's what I'm asking you is that taking your suggestion of like being a hard ass about it, taking it too far?
Well, we know whether it's some or what we get back, but we can gain half on all. And that's like the simplest form would be you need to do that in the beginning. The other thing is if we have two buttons here, then allow write to photos, allow showing photos from your rodeo album. But asking for write first adds another list element in the settings that says add only. Because they can, which we do want for
the case we want to be able to ask for it again if they haven't given us the other one.
Right. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I guess we have to look at the segments of users. There's live only, radio or live. And it doesn't really matter unless we want to use reactions, and then we need access to all or selected, and it works. It's kind of indifferent. It's fine, it'll work either way. And then it's just the record people, and the record people can get right to camera roll, which they will get at the end screen. They'll be able to share an image that is in their camera roll, but when they go to the save screen, it's not there. Or if they give selected photos with write, if you ask write first and then you get selected photos, I think you do maintain write. So that'd be the next level up. But their save screen still wouldn't be worthwhile.
Here's my current thought. Eric, what do you think about this too? Like, the hottest non-FANG app in the App Store right now is Paparazzi. So that's my ring. You cannot go onto their app unless you get contacts. They force contacts, which in my opinion is more invasive even than photos.
I felt so gross after I got.
And they are the longest app on the App Store. Like, should we just commit to saying you have to give us read all, and like, if we need to, we can figure out the right way to frame. Well, it's also for reactions and your thumbnail and even though, like, I know technically the way that we don't now, like, nobody knows that you can do that. Like, everyone thinks that, like, if I'm pulling up, if I can see my library and I'm in your app, I've given you access.
Yeah. How about this? So maybe this is something that we actually decided for, but if we don't have access to your camera roll, we don't show you saved on the record screen, you can't record without all access.
Okay, hold on. So save doesn't exist if you don't have all access.
Yep.
You go to record so that it does exist, but it's grayed out.
Yep.
Okay, continue.
And there's a button that says like record mode requires access to all photos.
Yes.
And then click that to go to your settings, and then if you do all, then you come back. So to like pop over to record again. But once you go there, you can record, and saved will also appear. But you need all. We need all to. It's like we record could theoretically work with selected, but I think like the full suite of like everything, all the photo stuff centers around record, all the weird stuff. So you get half the experience with half the record experience if you don't give all of it, you know. So maybe just the record stuff's camera roll force. That way, like J Balvin, who's probably not going to ever like do a record, he never has to like. He's never forced. We still prompt him, but we don't force him, you know.
How about we do that, but also when you're on a permission screen, you want to zoom into that just a little bit there, James? Just the middle one that's lit up. Yeah. On the permission screen, we basically say something to the effect of like, for the last one, like, grant us all access, blah, blah, blah. Like, in order to save the videos you make, you need to grant us this permission, but we also make that one optional.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. And it's optional on this screen.
Yeah.
But if you want to record, it's not optional.
Correct. Like you can't save. There's no savable things that you can do in the app.
Right.
Like the concept of anything that has to do with saving things that are on your local device, not there.
Another alternative is like just I think the only other alternative is to get rid of the rodeo album. Like
Whoa. Okay. So, and you're saying that because
photo
of the
album.
screen?
Hmm?
Are you saying that because of the save screen specifically, or another part of it?
Yeah, I'm saying specifically it just that's the thing that is like requiring a lot of permissions is having this rodeo album. And so the save screen would be from your files. And then if you want to export it to your photos, you can, but that would be like a share action. And that means
Yeah.
that you can use the app pretty much fully with selected photos.
You would have to go in and then select the rodeo items.
What do you, wait, what do you mean?
Like if you wanted to have anything show up in saved, we wouldn't be able to see any camera roll items, including ones that we had written.
Yeah, I'm saying like this is the alternative, and it's like getting rid of the rodeo album in the photos library. Or you're saying like in the interim when you're in the you're updating to this if we were to get rid of it and you're updating, you would lose access to this?
Maybe I don't understand. If we get rid of the rodeo album, you're saying we just write to the camera roll, like just recents?
No, sorry, I'm saying don't write to the camera roll at all.
Okay. Yeah. And then just do files, or you can choose to.
Yeah, and then you have to explicit, like basically how it worked before we added the rodeo album, but it's just like we're realizing now that this permissions is so complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not like the right answer is the right answer. So, you know, whether or not it's because we did something with like that's fine, but I think in a vacuum I could see myself getting on board with this idea. But the thing that I feel Eric and Encore, but Eric right now is like I think would be the best people to help us understand its implications when it comes to what that means for reactions, right? This idea of being able to load up all this stuff ahead of time, put it in the rodeo folder because you want those to show up at the top of reactions so that I know what my like show is going to be or whatever. I don't have to be scrolling to find the stuff. I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make, but that's the only thing that comes to mind is like it's not just about save screen. There's also like that other part too.
I didn't even think of that because like I usually just tell them to create an album because it doesn't have to be a rodeo album for that, right? They could just make any bucket. I was just trying to think back like why we wanted to save the camera roll in the first place. And I think it's like two things. It's so that it's easier to find the video. Like they don't have to go to Files app, but that could be solved with like a add to camera roll button or something. And then maybe after you press that, it asks for permission. So it's more direct, like you're trying to make a specific action that is asking for that access. And then the second is, I think even more impactful is being able to easily upload a video into the save section, which can also be solved with like I know like I'm just saying like we can solve it with a button, but like save to camera roll and upload feel like things that should live in save, because if someone's recording on one phone and then they need like to give it to someone else to do the PAL, I think that's like the most common path where the album becomes really useful.
Yeah.
Say the very
So what
next-
I'm saying is,
yeah.
so the use case I'm thinking a lot about is like an artist records something on their phone.
Using
They
their-
need to somehow get that file to their manager to do the PAL.
Okay.
And that means the first thing they need to do is easily find the video to send to their manager,
Yes.
which like using the share button and then saving to camera roll is probably the easiest. And then the second thing is the manager needs to be able to take a video and upload it into the saved file section.
Add it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, does PAL need to be? I mean, I guess the common or what we were building PAL for was like you do record on your same app. You can hit a button to PAL it, but like PAL could always just be a button that's like pick your PAL or whatever. I also just want to make sure we're not like, yeah, there's a lot of complexity, but like how often?
I was just thinking the same thing as like, are we being too nice or something? And now we're like compromising everything or something?
Like, what if we start with forcing access to everything, or we do the record thing where we force access, all access for record. And then if we hear complaints, we can like do something that's more, we can bring in the files app or whatever, you know?
I just imagine like, see, there's this other angle too, which is like when the finished video is in your camera roll, there's other stuff that you can do when you're accessing that video from the camera roll instead of our app that could be helpful. So for example, like Quen or whatever, like it might have been different if that was just sitting in her camera roll, right? Like if she went to hit send to so-and-so, again, I don't know the specifics, but it could have been like, oh, we need to do the, Apple has its own like Dropbox thing, like iCloud link or whatever. It might have been like, oh, this video is too big to send. You want to do the iCloud link instead or whatever, which maybe doesn't show up when you're doing a share sheet as opposed to like from the Photos app.
I thought you were going to mention mirroring. She also went in and
That's
mirrored
true.
it.
That's very true. So in a perfect world, I think
We're also a lot.
Go ahead.
We're also a lot closer in terms of engineering to just like blocking record and saved. Like then going back and like bringing back files and then adding like an upload button and things like that. So there's.
I mean, I think in terms of all of the different parts, moving pieces here that we would gain or lose, the one that we're like I want to do the least is lose operating more like a normal camera/video app, which is when I've made the thing, it goes in my camera roll. Like I want that to be the case because it's expected and normal. I like some of the other things that we can do by having a save screen and like all this stuff, but like that to me is the most important part. So I'm totally supportive of the block record, block save screen or whatever, like however we want to manifest that. If we don't have access, I think the only thing in my mind that's still a little bit like, which way should we go is, should we be total hard asses on the permission screen or should it be optional? I mean, I guess there's maybe like another thing, which is like, if we're hearing a complaint or something, like we just have a secret gesture. You just like tap 3 times with your 2 fingers, it just goes to the next screen. You don't have to like, give us access or something, but maybe we try. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
If someone's recorded a video and the video exists in files and it doesn't show up and saved because they didn't allow access, can it be like a different state. Like instead of saying you have no videos, it just says like see your videos, and then that's what like request access, because we know that they have recorded videos in the files app.
That's a good idea. I was thinking something kind of similar when I was suggested before, when I was like, oh, let's show them the videos, and you're like, oh man, it's like so much extra shit. Okay, I'm like, oh, maybe what we do is just like, you have X number of videos sitting in Rodeo, like to access them, you need to give us whatever. Like we don't have to show them it per se. What do you think about that?
At that point, when you say give us access, do you want us to then go through and copy them all to the camera roll?
It's not. Maybe yes. I guess. Well, hold on. Let me make sure that like what I'm saying still is a problem in this new world that we're talking about. I guess it isn't, because you wouldn't have been able to record anyways.
Yeah.
Never mind. Like, yeah, Eric, yes, I think that's a good solution if we were gonna let you record without having permissions. But I think we should not do that. If the group feels like it's best to leave it as optional on the permission screen, I'm all for it. I kind of feel like we should be intense about it and see what the reaction is, but maybe that's too much of a risk.
The only thing I think about is people use record as like test mode.
That's a good point.
That is a good point, but is your argument so therefore we should enforce it because we want them to be able to practice, or is it we shouldn't do it because if they can't practice, then too bad?
No, it's more like it's like why optional might be better, because if you're just trying to do it to like practice using the app, you're not actually trying to like save a video.
But you
wouldn't
be able to do anything, is what we're suggesting. Is that you go to the record screen, the button's not purple anymore, it's gray. You can't use it. Is that known? You know that?
Yeah, that's why it's like an extra hurdle to just like test out the app.
So what's the alternative?
It goes back to what we were saying before, and not requiring people to allow all access to record.
Okay, I see.
And the other thing is we can just take that button that's on the end screen, toss it onto the save screen if we don't have all access, and then your recordings until you give all access, they live in the Files app. If you don't share them, on that screen, you can email us. We'll tell you, go open your Files app. They're there, which isn't the worst case scenario.
Can you put settings?
Yeah, that's open files,
So it's basically the Dracula dump, but on save screen.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm not.
Well, I don't know if I would. It depends on if we want that product feature. Do we want, when we first detect? I'm just thinking technically how we would do. We have now detected that you have changed from no access to having access.
Oh.
Then we have to build a thing that detects
track of
that keeps track of that, and then checks everything that's in files and then dumps them out. I would just say, from then on, you get the full experience. Things are in your Files app. We could educate you or whatever if you send us feedback email or whatever.
I'm not even convinced I would want this, but what if it was just a second button? Like when you go to save screen, you get the thing that you're suggesting. Oh, you have to give us access because you've got some shit saved or whatever. You do that, you come back, there's another button there like, hey, we have access now. Like, do you want us to move all the stuff that's like in the Files app to your camera roll? And like you hit that, it does it. It's not an automatic thing. We don't have to keep track of it.
And it only appears if your save screen is empty.
Yes.
Something?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
if the save screen is empty and you have access and you have files, you have MP4 files in the files documents directory.
Because basically you're a person that doesn't want to commit up front, but then gets worried about the things that you might lose that you didn't want to commit to making.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Or it's like on the save screen, the only like we don't have a dump button. It's just like on the save screen, if we don't have all access, we have go to settings to grant all access, open files, and it just opens up the files app to that directory. And like you don't give us access, you have about like a worse time, you know. Once you're in the files app, you can do whatever you want. And we know how to maintain like the files, like the files save screen. We don't have the dump already exists, but I think it's dumber than I would want if it's like not a hidden button, you know.
So all of that works for me with the exception of the PAL use case, right?
If you want a PAL and you don't give us camera roll, you're SOL.
Right. So then I'm
Like-
kind of like, well, if we're going to do that, then like, should we just say that if you want to access your shit, you want our saved screen. Okay, so let's do exactly what you're suggesting, except the files thing is not a button, it's just text. It's like, otherwise, like navigate to the Files app if you'd like to see your stuff. I don't want it to be so easy to go to that, such that people don't think that there's a reason to have the save screen.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to like keep the things from them, like obscure it entirely, but I don't want it to be as easy as just bailing.
Yep, that works. I mean, we also talked about eventually when we do a more manager mode thing, the PAL will live there, you know?
Yep.
And I guess we'll have to solve the problem there.
Yeah, I mean, like the other day I was thinking, should PAL be a tab at the bottom, like live, record, radio, PAL?
Mm-hmm.
PAL. Just like imagining anyone hearing the conversation. It's like super weird.
Yeah, I feel like the person, if there's a separate person doing the PAL for the entity, they're probably okay being permissive with settings. I feel like the person I feel concerned about with like really permissive settings is like a celebrity who I could imagine is like harassed constantly for their photos. So it would just maybe be like, but like I think if you're like the manager, you'd be like, all right, whatever. Like,
yeah,
that would be my guess.
No, I think that's a fantastic point. I think that's great. We haven't been thinking about it in that way at all.
Yeah, along with the celebrity thing is like we rely on a lot of open source software, and open source software tends to rely on open source software and turtles all the way down. And there have been series of attacks where some maintainer accidentally or ignorantly gives like ownership to something that's at the like 10 levels down to something that everyone uses, and then there's a Bitcoin miner and everyone like in all this software. But could you imagine if like it was like, oh, we searched for like camera roll access, and we take everyone's camera roll and and then we are the iCloud leak.
Yeah.
Round two.
Shit.
And Susan chops our heads off.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's oh my god, like YouTube leaks Elton John nudes or whatever. Like, sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, not good. Okay, I see.
That could be an argument for files up for the whole thing, and then we have the PAL button.
Okay. Currently, I think the last thing that you had suggested, Ryan, we should do. Let me pitch one more. That's a little bit of a different angle. What do you guys think about this idea of go back to the Files app approach, go to saved, which like I'm not even fully pitching that. I just need to put it out there. Go to saved. There's a new set of buttons. There isn't like share. There's basically like send it to camera roll button. And once you've done that, you hit it and it does it. It basically like either does it automatically or asks you like, can we delete this from the Files app? And the whole idea is just about like a method in which you can move it over to the camera roll. It's not really about doing anything else within there.
Then it no longer.
Go ahead.
It's no longer in the save screen.
Oh fuck! What did I say? I meant the save screen this whole time. Sorry.
No, like you're saying, you hit the button and then we say, "Would you like to get rid of it?" And then it's just like,
it's
all right, this thing's gone.
Yeah.
I think that actually, like, why does it make sense for Dawn to have something that she already like palled from months ago sitting in there? So once you've kind of like moved on, it's like the save screen is your like on deck, you know?
It's the like, instead of it like just before a whole process, it's just before a process is done. Like it's this other,
We kind of do that anyway. That's actually the natural process of, it also has a benefit that it requires, if you do a single take, it requires 1x file size before the camera roll. Like if you, like you don't, it doesn't require a copy to camera roll before it appears somewhere that you have access to, you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then for the, like, if you're sharing it, the PAL comes from your camera roll. So the PAL is picking videos from camera roll, but the save screen is from your files, basically. It's kind of like separating them. Is that the proposal?
Seemed to make sense to me. You would just pull out a standard image picker, which requires no permissions.
Is there a way we can make our app require none? Not really. I guess camera and mic can't avoid. It was just like, you almost got me like, it's like one of those things I get all in on. I'm like, okay, well, no permission, everything we can.
You have to go into the camera app, record clips, and then you come back over. It's just After Effects. The Elton John nudes thing that I think is bigger than probably, like, at least marketing wise, is good for us. We're like, oh, we don't, there's no risk here. The only thing that is what you say in front of the app, you know? Until someone fat fingers a nude, pals it. But a lot has to go wrong.
But I guess in that world, like the reactions picker is a fucking wreck, right? Like that's all messed up now.
The reactions picker, I mean, we would need camera roll permissions, but it's pretty clear when you open up the reactions picker that you're like, there's something that's gonna happen. Yeah, and if you don't give access, then we can still like take advantage of the work that we did there, where it's like if you're live and you don't have access, then we don't show you the, we don't prompt you to go to settings and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it a lot right now because this last idea we're talking about basically just it changes PAL. Like PAL is just a different feature now. We have to there needs to be some new design for it. Like we have to just think about it a little bit. I don't love that the thing's not like in the camera roll right away, but maybe we change the finish screen to be the save screen. We had talked about that at some point, I think. So
yeah.
Done. It takes you right to the save screen. And there's like a main call to action, which is like, yep, good to go, send it to my camera roll.
Yep. And we can even have that on the end screen too. But I guess the prompt. Right now, like it says share or whatever, and like the share action feels superfluous. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it right now. Let's come back to that. But it's like add to camera roll on the end screen. And it's not pops up a share sheet, which we historically done. It's a ad. It's an ad. I wonder if we can like limit that share sheet to just have the save item, and that doesn't require any permissions.
You can do that with all of the Apple stuff, I think all the apps basically say like, oh, I listened for this file type.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm telling you, like, what am I doing? Like,
I don't know anything about it.
Because I remember looking at that at Vine. I don't remember who I was working with at the time, but you can basically say, oh yeah, I do want mail show up in it and blah, blah, blah. But like, if I have the Instagram app and it's always listening for .movs, then if the share sheet has that, or the share is coming with that thing, then you can show that. Yeah. Anyways, maybe when you're done, it's like save in Rodeo app or like save on camera roll. It's like you have two options, but you have to pick one of them to move forward.
I like that.
Or the keep in Rodeo app, save or like move to camera roll. That's probably better. Not that the language matters that much right now, but I just want to make sure my idea is clear about what I mean. Okay. So run me through it right from the top. Then what are all the changes then for this thing we were talking about?
Well, I guess we can still ask for optional camera roll in the beginning. So for reactions, if you regardless of what you pick, the save screen and recording saves to the Files app and it's not saves to file location that is accessible in the Files app. If you hit, there will be the save screen won't have a share button. It'll have like add to camera roll button.
Yeah.
And then the end screen. And when you hit add to camera roll, it'll also prompt you, would you like to remove from the Rodeo app after a successful copy? And then on the end screen after recording, it has like the video and it says keep in Rodeo app, move to camera roll. And move to camera roll will, I believe, we want to delete it from the Rodeo app on successful copy.
Yeah.
And that one doesn't require permissions if you're just doing a single one.
That's a good question. We could, if we don't have access, we could prompt for access. But what I would also like to see is if we can, that share sheet, you can specify like what things are in it. And I'm wondering if we can like pare it down to just save to camera roll, and if that's possible, we don't need any permissions to do that. And
then PAL is one of two things. It's there's an add button on the save screen that adds it from your camera roll or wherever to the save screen, effectively 2xing the file size on the disk space because it copies it to Rodeo.
Mhm.
Or PAL is like another tool somewhere else. Maybe it's the bottom picker, maybe it's something, but it doesn't matter. But there's some other entry point that it isn't about it just being on the save screen. Hitting it says, what would you like to publish as live? You show the native camera roll picker, you pick the video, it takes you to the thing.
Yeah, brings you into PAL mode. I believe we would need to do a copy there. We
Okay.
potentially need to do a copy there anyway,
Okay.
to be sure that like we have it all downloaded. Once we have Cloud PAL, the Cloud PAL, then that just does an upload.
Maybe that's what Tyler should make.
The craziest thing when it's like, oh, we keep moving the schedule, the stream around, and we have to keep the Cloud PAL in sync with all the apps and everything.
Insane. Okay.
But the Cloud PAL will be based on what we have in the account. So if they open up the phone and it says something,
And then reactions, effectively nothing changes with the exception of if you want to queue up ahead of time the reaction stuff you want to do, you have to make your own folder, which it sounds like they're already asking them to do that. So it's not add it to the Rodeo folder, it's make your own folder. Grant all access. Open reactions, move to that album manually because we don't know what album that is. And then they would be there. Is that right?
yeah. I mean, if you
I'm just
They
thinking
could
the use case of the Bold and the Beautiful, for example.
favorites also works if they
Okay, right.
hit favorites on in camera roll.
Do we show that? Oh no, we show recents first. Not that we can't change it. Just curious what we
Yeah,
can.
I think we do recents first. Tell you. Recents.
Is there anything else that changes? That's a lot of changes. Why are we doing this again? So that we don't force them to give us access to everything, because otherwise it's making a whole bunch of weird edge cases. Is that right?
Yes. And also on maybe second thought, we should be de-risking slurping up everyone's camera roll. Like the value of reading all camera roll in our app, I feel is relatively small, but is a high risk. So being able to show those on the save screen is the only thing that the read all gives us.
But what about
I guess
reactions?
reactions too.
Yeah, okay,
But reactions works fine with selected.
I see. Okay. All right. James? You got all that?
Yeah. I actually did take some notes to think of.
Wow.
I
That
took
was
some
good.
notes
Need
too.
a
If you
bit of a
need.
refresher. Yeah, I'm gonna need to sync with somebody to double check the triple check the double check
Yeah,
here.
this is the fucking, this is the
the
real
mother lib.
power
Yeah.
out here, because we really needed everybody on this one. Holy shit.
I think one of the more impactful things, I guess we could find out earlier rather than later, is can we limit the shared screen activity view controller down to like a minimal amount that's just like save, like a save button or something? Or is there a way that we can add a video to camera roll without add the camera roll permissions, which I'm pretty sure there isn't another way without using that shared sheet, but maybe I didn't like research enough,
I mean, at that point, though, we don't need to read, so we can just request write when you hit save too.
Yeah. Depending on if we already prompted on the like sign up flow, you know.
Right.
If we already had asked for all and you said no, then we
Fucking
can't prompt.
hilarious thinking about all of the like extremely thoughtful, considerate, use case based thinking for all of this stuff, the design, etc. You think about all that, and then you think about like what we do today. We just like spam you with all of them, and it's like it's like
Right.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's true. Also compared to the existing app, right now, if you don't give all camera roll, right, if the app just secretly doesn't work, keep stuff in the files.
This guy with his secretly. All right.
Wait, in this new world, do we need to ask for photos access in the beginning? Or can we just ask when they try?
That could be good. We don't ask in the beginning. We ask for all when you open reactions because you know why. And then we ask for add if you did a record. And if you asked, but so the only thing is if you open reactions, you said select some, and then in the end we ask for add. We don't get add.
What about when you get reactions? We give a pop up that's like, we need access to da 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 da, and then you actually get the real notif, like the real access.
Yeah.
Okay, I could buy that for sure. Seems good. So should we ask for notifs then on the main screen? So it's those three: camera, mic, notifs, and the last one is optional.
Depends on how important notifs are.
Like you're saying, if they're not that important, like why ask for them on that screen at all?
Like if we want to be,
maybe they won't later.
Yeah, if we're like, hey, we only ask you for like exactly what you need, right? That, like you know what? We're spreadsheeters. We don't ask you for what we need. Well, I'm just thinking like, what are the notifications we have? When you background the app while you're recording or broadcasting, we give you a notification, and then we give you a couple before a scheduled broadcast, which I think was more for the general use case of people on the go, like scheduling stuff a while out. All those notifications were created, I think, before you designed the app.
Yeah, the only notification that I could think of that seemed meaningful in some fashion that we didn't have already was the one that we were talking about where you get a phone call and you're like backgrounded or like a fan line or whatever. Mm-hmm. Not that that's a deal breaker or anything, but that's the only other one that's come to mind that we haven't actually implemented.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, when you're backgrounded and a call comes in?
Like a fan, you're on the fan line. Like
you're doing an audio live stream, and you've lost it and put it in your pocket.
Fan line is ringing away. How do I know unless we're sending them notice? Is the idea.
Got it.
Yeah. But I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And the only reason we were afraid of that was because we were like thinking of smaller users that maybe wouldn't have. They would open a fan line and then like some time later they might get a call, you know?
Yes.
Because like now it's like fan line's the theme of the whole broadcast.
Yes.
The other thing is like if there are push notifications we want to do in the future,
right,
getting notifications now,
right,
will be useful.
Yeah. Like, hey, if you want to react to the DNA?
Right.
Almost everybody who uses our app schedules first right now. So if we ask for notice, then we still probably get a majority.
What if we targeted that action as well as going live? Or either way.
Or add a silver.
Yeah, I think part of the whole design also be including is like pre notifications for the iOS notifications. Like I think that in that particular case, it's us throwing up a rodeo notice that says like here's why this is useful before you give you the iOS prompt, which is like a little less helpful.
Yeah.
Like way an exploration in this new design. I think they could use from a couple cases.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. So now what? Should we test the app? Kidding. Okay, is there anything not answered with that then? Other than like James and I need to like redesign the app or whatever.
I guess the one last question is it worth it? Is the app fine right now?
Is it worth it? Yeah, fair.
Like, are we going to completely switch out for files and everything?
I mean, I don't want to. But that's Jason, like me as a user or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of like, ugh, that's annoying. I don't give a fuck about giving him all access, but I mean, I think all the points are there. I don't know, Eric Encore, what do you think? Do you think that this impacts onboarding or like, okay, how about this? One thing I'll just raise, while we aren't actively asking for it to be the case, and we don't hate it, but more people today onboard themselves without us having anything to do with it than ever, and it seems like that's increasing. Will one way or another, not doing this change or doing this change, fuck them somehow? Or like us, I should say, really.
I don't know that the self people are doing much of in the reactions front, maybe PAL, but these people that are like, that never talk to us, that they're just using it, are just, it's pretty straightforward stream. If they're not necessarily interacting with files.
Is that because they haven't given Cameral access, and that's why they're not using reactions, for example? It's kind of like what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, we can't know that. Like, I'm not expecting you to know the answer or something, but like,
No, but my hunch is that they just don't know.
Okay.
We could.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we could wait on making these grand changes and add logging so we know if like people are actually not enabling like photo library access.
One of the more reasonable things I've ever heard in my life, to be honest. Very reasonable.
I was gonna say the self-serve, the record as test is the only thing that would be like why I would want to change things. Because if record doesn't work, it's like your first time you ever heard about the app from like a roadshow or something. You download it, you go to test and record mode, ask for access. You're like, I don't want to give access, and then like you can't record. You're like, oh, this app doesn't work.
There's a small part of me that's kind of like, if you are somebody who's like big or whatever, and you just gave us access to your entire YouTube channel, you don't give a shit about giving us these fucking meaningless like little things on your phone. Like, it could be completely wrong. But like, there's a small part of me that thinks, isn't the YouTube channel like the bigger fish here? I guess it depends on what dark shit you have on your phone.
And also, how much top talent is using their own phone?
Hmm.
You know what's so sweet? We just spend a million years making a perfect iPad app, and then we just say yes to all the permissions before we send it. Kidding. Well, I mean, I'm not. It'd be sweet if we could spend 1 million years working on that. It'd be a sick-ass iPad app. 1 million years? God.
Plus, it's living that long. Nice.
Right. True.
Deliver.
Right, you don't want to do it yet? Your like initial kind of like thought on it.
I think like the files app stuff is clean. I guess the question is like, are we spending our limited engineering resources like going and changing a bunch of stuff now? So I think it's a good exercise to go through and figure out what like the cleanest, most ideal thing would be, which is like the files app stuff, and then like
He's gonna fucking kill it when I get fired. I'm telling you. Listen how fucking reasonable this guy is. Sorry.
like our like current bad situation, I guess, is if you do select or whatever, and then you record, and then I also think that select is probably the most used.
I have absolutely. I was gun to my head. I wouldn't even be able to do it. But I'm shocked to do that. I didn't know that was been anyone's guess. In my mind, I thought it would have been not used
Or not.
because people are like, "What the heck is that?" I don't know what that is. It's just
Yeah.
10 years of iOS not having that option, but like,
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking more in the reactions use case.
yeah.
But they're presented with a button on the
In some ways, select on reactions is like better. In some way, right? If you're like, oh, I pick the ones ahead of time that I'm gonna.
right. You can actually unselect ones once you've done it and everything.
Oh yeah, because when you bring it back up, it's pre-selected. It's not just adding.
Yeah.
Wow, I never even thought about that one time. Interesting. Okay.
This may be helpful, probably not, but on a cognitive level, the way that teams think about reactions,
Yes.
the way that they say it is, okay, so I need to upload these to Rodeo, and then I can react to them. So,
what do you say to that?
I clarify and I say that they just need to be on your phone. You don't need to upload them separately to Rodeo. But like, it makes sense to be like, oh, in this app, if I'm going to be playing this media, I need to communicate and make sure that the media is on the app. Like, that is a reasonable thought.
Yeah. Do we have a build that exists today in the public in which it automatically just goes to camera roll, or we haven't shipped that yet?
That's out there.
Okay.
But it's like we ask you for camera roll versions and give them. It's, you know, it's just like put on the end screen. It doesn't, like that doesn't, it stays in your files app, but
you can't see it, don't know it's there.
Yeah, you can share it on that screen.
Right.
The other thing that we could do is like if we can figure out this limited activity view controller, like save button only guy. Like if we detect that we don't have write permission to the camera roll,
yes,
we can have an additional element on that screen that's like we can't write this to the camera roll. Hit this button. You can hit this.
Kind of cool. Okay.
I don't think we can specify an album in that case.
Okay, last question, and I think I'll be able to at least have my own thought on what we should hear. Eric and Encore, I don't know which one of you does it more, but when you're telling people how to get their content loaded up for reactions, and this is in reference to albums, sounds like there are four options. Save the favorites, create your own album, add it to that. Just know where they are in your camera roll and pick them, I guess. And then this new thing, which is brand newly shipped. There's a rodeo album now on your phone. Add those things to the rodeo album. I understand that, like, from a technical perspective, it's not any different than, like, yeah, make an album and add it to there if you want to do it in rodeo. But do you anticipate it being easier to understand or more frequently used if we're explicit about things? So basically saying, like, yeah, as soon as you've, like, set up the app, you now have this album that you can just go ahead and add stuff to. Just go add to the rodeo album. Do you think that that would make it any either more used, easier to be understood, or any of the following around this idea of like what you're already telling them, which is like make an album or like add the favorite? Might be a kind of a weird question to be able to guess that.
Well, I think it addresses that cognitive flow that I was already saying. So like in that mind, it's like, oh, I'm adding to this, but this is now my pool.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same level of like technical complexity of adding to favorites.
Yes.
I think it's good.
Any thought on it, Eric? One way or another? Like, does it make your job easier if you say, yeah, go add it to the rodeo album, it's on your thing, as opposed to saying, like, make an album or add it to favorite?
Yeah, I think it's more like understandable.
Understood. It's also some people, if they actually use their favorites album for what it's intended for, it can feel a little sleazy. Be like, yeah, it's Pop Season there too.
Fair.
Just maybe it's not your favorite.
Right. Maybe it's your least favorite because you're just doing it for work, because you work for an artist.
You might be able to save the camera roll without permissions. UI save video at path to saved photos out.
Oh my god.
So you might get a pop-up.
Yeah.
How do I tell it what album? What is the saved photos album? That's something that we could try.
Is it effectively like the add image to your camera roll thing, but video equivalent?
Yeah, I think it would like, it might be the thing that we were seeing where it like pops up with the thumbnail and stuff like that. Like
okay.
Rodeo wants to add this, so maybe we could try that. I don't know what it solves, but maybe if we don't have write access, we can have or you can always use that API to write to the camera roll.
Yeah.
Problem is like the save screen is still not gonna work, you know?
Yeah, my general thought right now is like, I think I could be convinced of this file, like go back to the files thing, like the two major considerations that come into play for me when making that call are like the work that we've already spent on it for the kind of experience that we're going for, which I still, in my opinion, think is the like, if all things being equal, it's the better use cases. Like you save it right to your phone, you have a rodeo album, it's neat and tidy, you can add to it. Like to me, it makes a lot of sense. But I understand this idea of like, okay, well, if it's going to be less of a pain in the ass, like let's just say, okay, I get it. I mean, like for the user, I understand it's a pain in the ass for us. The only thing that's like really hurting me, like even though that's like generally, in my opinion, the better experience, it still feels like the thing that we haven't necessarily put enough weight into, in my opinion, is the file size stuff that comes along with going back to Files app. It's like,
but we already have that problem with the. Oh, you mean like going back to files, not the files app, we gain, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to continue to run into the thing, which I think, I mean, I only have 10 gigs left on my phone. I've got a big one.
And Lord knows, we push the record, not for live, right? Like, it's only going to be more.
Yeah. If people are doing multiple cuts, baseline is 2x no matter what.
Yeah.
If it's a single shot with only files app, then we can keep it at 1x.
But if they want to do anything with it, it becomes 2x, right?
If they want to put into the camera roll, it's 2x. So if they want to upload it to Drive right from Rodeo, it's 1x. I definitely think the files app with emphasis on camera roll, we could do files app, but on that screen, the end screen, we also asked if we could add it to the camera roll. But it's not the permission one. It's this if this API that I just found does like a pop-up and says, would you like to add it to your camera roll? So we get it into the camera roll. And then on a successful, if they do hit OK and it does copy, we get the completion handler says they copied successfully. We can subsequently say, do you want to keep it in Rodeo or do you want to?
Yeah.